And today my adventure begins right here off of Highway 601 outside of the town of Mocksville, North Carolina. Starting things off right here at this awesome old abandoned gas station. This is a beauty. Absolutely cool. Old pure gas station here. Look at those old analog pumps. Smoking Joe's. Remember Camel? Used to be a sponsor for Jimmy Spencer in NASCAR. Well, good morning, my friends. Welcome back to the channel. Hitch, hiking, Yeti, here. Got my coffee in hand this morning. Going to do some Mocksville stuff today. Here recently, a couple weeks ago, I was up in this area and we did some videos around the Yadkin Valley. And we're going to continue on with that today somewhat right here in Mocksville. And when I was in Yadkinville and Booneville, we kept coming across the name Daniel Boone quite often. And his family actually settled in the Mocksville area. I think they're actually buried there. There is a place called the Boone Cave. We're going to go track that stuff down today, or track that stuff down today, if I can talk right. Still pretty early. And just have a fun small town type of day here in the foothills of North Carolina, Davie County. We're going to get into it today. Thank you for coming along for this little adventure. Good to have you here. Let's begin. Okay, I've made it into Mocksville. This here is the corner of South Main Street, which is also 601, and West Lexington Road, which is also Highway 64. And look at this awesome home right here. Check this out. And they got these cool signs up here that tells you how far you are away from different places. Coolamy Bullhole is 6.3 miles. Augusta, Georgia is 264. Nashville is 414 miles. And this is also a private residential property. I thought when I drove in, I thought maybe this was a, you know, kind of a historical thing. You could walk in on the property and actually check it out, but that is not the case. This is called the Carolina Frost Cabin, built prior to 1840. So this old structure is very, very old. Just wanted to show you this before we get up into the uptown area where all the big buildings are. So I think I'm going to start things off right here in front of the First Presbyterian Church here in Mocksville. And we're going to talk about the early days of the town. So the area around present-day Mocksville was settled during the mid-1700s as European settlers moved west of the Yadkin River. The region had previously been used as hunting and territory by Native American peoples, and the location was important here because it sat near major routes running north and south, east and west through the Piedmont of North Carolina. Okay, I'm standing here right across the road from Davie County office building, and I just wanted to point out this very colorful fire hydrant. Look at that thing. That is awesome. That is so cool. I love seeing stuff like that. Okay, and right here in the middle of town, we have the Davie County Courthouse. This place is a very grand structure building. It's actually got a little clock tower up there at the very top. It says, "In God We Trust." Another thing I want to tell you about this place as we stand here in front of the courthouse is this was not always called Mocksville. Back in the day, it was originally known as Mock's Old Field. So the town takes its name from Andrew Mock, who owned approximately 250 acres here in the area. Mock's Old Field was already in existence before the American Revolution. A post office was established there in 1810. Then came a major milestone. Mocksville was originally incorporated in 1839 by the North Carolina General Assembly. So right here on the corner of the courthouse, on the property, they have a monument here. It says, "This memorial erected," and it's got Daniel Boone's name on it. It's got Squire and Sarah Boone, which was his mother, his parents, mother and father. And this is the town that they moved to And right here they have another plaque that we've seen in other areas around Yadkinville. This here's the Boone Trail Highway. And this is what got me kind of interested in coming to Mocksville today. It's kind of explore a little bit of this stuff. So Daniel Boone spent roughly about 13 years in what is now Davie County. His father, Squire Boone, purchased land near an area known as Bear Creek. And it's not too far from downtown Mocksville, so we're definitely going to go over there and check that out and see if there's any kind of informational plaque or anything in that area. This was where Daniel really developed many of his wilderness skills that later made him famous as far as being a great frontiersman. So while Daniel Boone is famous for Kentucky and the Cumberland Gap, his formative years were spent right here in the Yadkin Valley. All right, anytime we go to small towns, we're always looking for some really cool murals, and this mural is so large. I might have to go across the street and just show it to you, but I do want to show you, they do have this little information plaque here. The Running of Horses is what this is called. And it's, the artist's name is right there, Cheryl Ann, Fine Arts. And right there is the mural itself. Let me see if I can zoom in on it, where you can see a little bit better. Very interesting, right? See the horses, the two ladies, and like the tree is part of their hair. Okay, so this here is the old Cartner building. Look at that right there. Counterpoint Music. Got a little music store here in town. And here's the Mocksville Barber Shop right here. So this town became even more important when Davie County was created from Rowan County in 1836. The county was named for William Richardson Davie, a Revolutionary War officer, North Carolina governor, and one of the founders of the University of North Carolina. Mocksville was selected as the county seat. So Mocksville-Davie County area also saw activity during the American Revolution. British General Charles Cornwallis and his troops actually passed through this region, and local historical accounts describe Mock's Old Field as a place where colonial forces and planters would actually meet. Oh, this is a real cool mural right here. Look at this. It says Republic. Gasoline can't be beat. Newer thrills, fewer feels. Horn Oil Company. And right down here it says 1930 down there at the bottom. And then when I pan around, this old brick building right here still states the name Horn Oil Company. But now it looks like part of it at least is a Main Street barbershop. All right, I found another fire hydrant. That's painted like got some baseball stuff and some woods. Check that out. I like that. That's pretty clever. They actually painted the bolt that holds on the cover as a baseball, and then it's got a mitt on the cover itself. That's really cool. But check this out right here. This is a pizzeria. It's called The Station. And you can tell this was not always a pizzeria. So this place was supposedly constructed back in 1920, and it was originally operated as a Curfews and Ward pure oil station. Yeah, this is really cool. Right here was the old washing bay and lubrication, maybe oil changes. They got bathrooms right here. This is a pretty neat spot, and I really like it. They have an old Products of Pure Oil Company gas pump right here. I love these kind of relics. Really, really neat. Yeah, I just want to take one last look at this structure. I think that is so awesome, so pretty. So now I want to talk a little bit about the population. Let's talk about the population of the town. 5,346 souls call Mocksville home. The median age here is 38.3. Okay, so now let's look at demographics. 79.18% is white, 11.85% is black, 1.2% is Asian, 0.06% is American Indian, 2.98% is mixed race, and 4.73% is other race. Then we look at the income index. Income per capita here is $36,169, which is below the North Carolina and the national averages. The median household income here is $67,795. We scroll down a bit. The poverty level here in Mocksville is kind of high. It's 23.2%, which is quite a bit above the North Carolina 16.8 and the national at 15.1. Then we look at crime. Crime here in Mocksville, not too bad. They average 2,089 per 100K, or also that equates to 2.0 per 1,000. Then when we look at that in percentages, they get a C- here. The total crime is 1% below the national average. Violent crime is 7% below the national average, and property crime is 0%. So not too bad. And right here on the side of the restaurant 101 is a front fascia mural of the same building. And I know that because of how the top of the building is designed. But this here says 101 Restaurant in the 1900s, town of Mocksville. So back in the day, obviously it was not called the 101 Restaurant, but it looks like it was some kind of furniture store. Edwards Furniture. Over here it says House of Wicker. Michael's Nickel and Dime. Was it a nickel and dime store, you think? All right, there it is. There's the front of the old store, the old furniture store, which is now the restaurant 101. It's actually very nice. Got a really nice outdoor seating area here. You can also just sit out here on the, I guess, the sidewalks when it's super busy. Before we leave the downtown area and we hunt down some Daniel Boone stuff, I'm looking forward to that. Much of the 1800s, Mocksville remained pretty much primarily a agricultural community. That all changed though when the railroad reached Mocksville in 1891. The railroad helped connect the town to larger markets and contributed to the growth of commerce and industry right here in the county. Oh yeah, there's one more famous person other than Daniel Boone that's, you know, resided here in Mocksville in his early life. And the guy I'm speaking of is one of my favorite coaches. No, let's be honest. He's my favorite head coach in the NFL of all time because he coached my favorite team to three Super Bowl championships. And I'm talking about the beloved. Everybody loved him. If you're a Washington Redskin fan, you know what I'm talking about. Coach Joe Gibbs, who now has a very championship winning NASCAR team. But back in the day, man, I love Joe. I love Joe Gibbs, and he is from Mocksville. He was actually born here on November 25th, 1940 at the Mocksville Hospital. There you go. A lot of people do not know that. You know, and Joe Gibbs lives down in Lake Norman. And I've even watched interviews with him throughout his career, but just until recently, in the last year or so, maybe in the last 2 years, he actually spoke. He was from Mocksville, North Carolina, and I was shocked. I was like, oh my God. I had no clue. But yeah, old Joe Gibbs, the old football coach from Mocksville. Okay, so I made my way outside of the downtown area of Mocksville, probably a couple miles now, right here off of Highway 64 West, right along Bear Creek. I know I've driven across this bridge enough times. I knew where Bear Creek was, and I thought there was a marker here, and sure enough there are. So this here is the Boone tract. It says in 1753, Lord Granville granted 640 acres on Bear Creek to Squire Boone, who sold it in 1759 to his son Daniel, being Daniel Boone. This was a part of the original Boone tract. So everything that Daniel Boone learned in his early years of life, living here in the area, the 13 years he would have lived here, just think, this right here would probably been the area where he mastered his skills, which he later would use to become this great, well-known frontiersman. And nobody ever really talks about it, but he had a brother named Squire Jr., named after his father. Right there's the Bear Creek sign, just wanted to show you that. And he was quite the frontiersman too, but he never gets the same praise and love that Daniel Boone gets. So I just wanted to kind of, you know, give him a shout out too. He did a lot of good stuff, and he done some exploration along with his brother up in Kentucky and places like that. So all that being said, I think this is really cool. Just think, back hundreds of years ago, he was right out there. The family was out there learning their craft. So now I want to go look for the cemetery where his mother, Squire Boone, and wife, Daniel Boone's mother, was actually buried, laid to rest there. So we're going to go check that out next, and then the fun really starts because we're going to go to the Boone Cave. Okay, I made my way over here to the cemetery right off of Highway 601 here in Mocksville. And it says Squire and Sarah Boone up there at the top of this plaque. Parents of frontiersman Daniel Boone, settled here in North Carolina in 1751, received land grant nearby 1753, which we just seen that over at Bear Creek. Squire died in 1765 and Sarah passed away in 1777, buried here. So there's only one thing left to do, right? Let's go back here and see if we can find their headstones. And very old headstones, man alive. So let's go check it out. Okay, I made it back here. Right here's the graves. This here is the two headstones of Squire Boone and Sarah Boone, Daniel Boone's parents. And boy, they really want to protect them. Check that out. They bricked this whole thing up. So let's see what this reads on here. It says, Squire and Sarah Morgan Boone, parents of Daniel Boone. Squire Boone departed this life the 69th year of his age in the year of our Lord, 1765. Sarah Boone departed this life 1777 at 77 years of age. And look how they used to like etch the names. I mean, it's readable, but it's not like, you know, it's not very vibrant. Tell it was done by hand. That is really cool. And right here is Sarah's. And women never gets it fair, does it? The man, you could kind of read pretty good. Look at hers. Not very good. Not a lot of writing on hers. And right off to the left, we have like an information story of the Boone family in Davie County. It's a lot to read, but it is kind of cool that they put this here for people. Right there's a little map of the area. And right off here to the left is one of Daniel Boone's brothers, which this is the only family member, children that is, that's buried here with the parents. Check that out. How cool is that? All right, so that's the graves of Squire and Sarah Boone, Daniel Boone's parents. Check that off. And now we're going to have to make somewhat of a lengthy drive. Not too far, but a little bit to get over to the Boone Cave. And then we're going to wrap our video up. We're going to go check that out and call it a day. It's been a fun one. Hope you guys have had fun. I really do appreciate you. Come along for my little adventures. Thank you so much. Okay, and right here at the gas station, check that out. The General Lee. Nice. Getting a little go-go juice. You just never know what you're going to find out here on the back roads of North Carolina, man. Going by a gas station, stopped in there to get a little drink, and lo and behold, this guy in the General Lee pulls up. That was so cool. All right, I have made it, finally. It's about a 30-minute drive from that cemetery to get here to the Boone Caves. And right there, they have this monument here. And Boone Trail Highway, Daniel Boone. And supposedly, we just walked down this road a little bit further. They got a small parking area here, but you can also park down the hill a little bit. And but it's not too far down to the cave. It don't look like. I just spoke to somebody who was here actually cleaning the bathrooms, which is a very lovely touch. Sometimes when you go to nature trails and stuff, sometimes they have bathrooms and sometimes they don't. Today, we're lucky they do. Okay, so they do have a map here that gives you kind of a lay of the land. We're right here at the restrooms, right there in that area. And I'm just gonna walk down this road to the end. And it says Boone Caves down there, close to Baptism Rock. And that is where we're going to head to. But they have a lot of trails. I mean, just look at all this stuff. And they even have 18 holes of disc golf at Boone's Cave Park if you're into that type of thing. And as I walk down to the Boone Cave trailhead, just in case you ever wanted to know, Miami, Florida is 785 miles to the south of Boone Cave, and Mount Rushmore is 1,665 miles to the northwest of Boone Cave. Okay, here we are. Trails, river, cave, no swimming. Go down this way, I guess. Down the hill. Problem is, we're going down the hill now, but that means we gotta climb back up this bad boy in a little bit. Okay, I hope I have found the right trail now. This trail right here, it says steps to cave. I think this is going to be the right one to get us down to the cave itself. The cave trail, which where I entered right over there, it's actually blocked, not too far down. You can't make it far. And then they have like, it's blocked off. Looks like maybe they had some kind of landslide, or maybe all the rain here in this area, something got washed out. But we're gonna try this direction next. And this is nice though. It's a nice little boardwalk down through here, so not too bad. A lot of steps, so I'm already seeing that much. All right, I made it down here. Now this was the original steps that I was gonna walk down, but on up those steps somewhere there is a blockade that says you cannot come down these steps because they're crumbling. As you can see, they're not in the greatest condition, but this here is the rock overhang area known as the Boone's Cave. So the traditional story says that Squire Boone brought his family from Pennsylvania to the Yadkin Valley around 1751 with his teenage son Daniel among them. Local tradition holds that the family spent their first period in North Carolina in this very vicinity of the caves. And look at these things. I'm telling you, man, when I wake up in the morning, I am hot and sweaty. It is like 90 some degrees with humidity so thick you can taste it. And I'm out here in the boondocks. 30 minutes outside of the town of Mocksville, where we started our little journey today. You know, it's fun stuff. So it looks like they block that part off to keep people from crawling up in there, I guess. But can we walk up inside here a little bit? Hopefully no rattlesnakes are living in here. Check this out, though. This is really cool. I mean, it is a cave, full-blown cave. I know it's dark. Wait a minute, look at that. They got that blocked off too. It goes deeper into the hillside. All right, I got a little light now. Using my camera phone light. It gives you a little illumination, you know. You know me, I like to explore. Look at that, man, that's pretty cool. You know, there's YouTube channels that they make videos like this where they go in these real tight spaces and crawl around. I'm not really like claustrophobic, but this is pretty hairy in here. I couldn't imagine like getting on up in there in that area. Ugh. No, thank you. Let's get out of here. All right. Okay, we made it. we're still alive. Oh man. Whew. You know, you would think it might be a little cooler in that cave. Nope. Didn't feel any cooler. It was nice because it was in the shade when you first get in, but as you get on up in there, the way we just did, but not very cool at all. Very stagnant, as you can imagine. So I guess the big thing that you got to ask, did Daniel Boone actually live in this cave? And that is where the story needs to be, you know, take a little caution with that, because there is no documentation that says for sure this here was the actual cave where his family was, like, you know, taking refuge in when they first moved to the area. It just says that Boone Park in general, this park, is where the Boone family lived. A lot of people just assumed that this cave would have been perfect for them to live out of or take cover or shelter in during storms and things like that. There's a lot of pluses by being here at this cave because, of course, you are elevated from the floodwaters of the Yadkin River, which is right down below us. But you have abundant fishing, a lot of, you know, like wildlife, you know, would be living around the water, deer, things like that. So hunting would have been really good and fishing would have been great. And I think that's where this whole story really takes shape from. I think it's a very good, educated guess that this is where him and his family probably stayed. All right, I have made it further down the trail to the water's edge on this very impressive rock formation that I'm standing on. Right here on the river. Look at this thing. And this rock formation, it does have a name. It is called Baptism Rock. Never realized how fast the Yadkin River actually moved. Look at those leaves. Look how quick that water flow is. I would not want to go swimming in that thing. Not right here at this area anyway, because that water has definitely got some flow to it. Maybe it's because of all the rain that has gone on here in the area here recently. But yeah, never realized just how much current was in this river until right now. So the name Baptism Rock comes from the tradition where people were baptized here in the river, particularly during the period when baptism congregations were becoming established here in the Yadkin Valley in the 18th and 19th centuries. There's an interesting connection to the Boone family too, because Squire Boone, Daniel Boone's father, and his family were part of the early religious community here in Yadkin Valley. Although I'd be very careful to say Daniel Boone himself was baptized here at this rock, because there is no documentation of that, but could have been. Okay, so right there is the way I went down to the Baptism Rock area. And right here is the caves, their location. And now I get the fun of walking up all these steps. And as I make my way up through there, I will try to show you how many they are in the best way possible. It is very green, so you can't see everything, but you can see a little bit. All right, so I'm about halfway up the stair climbing, one with nature. If you see all the foliage, the greenery, right there's the steps. I don't know if you can see them down through there, but it's a lot. And when you're about halfway up, you'll find this little like patio area with a few chairs. It's like the poop chairs. It's where you're pooped out and you need to take a rest. But you're just getting started, really. Well, you're halfway. Now we get to go up through there. Through yonder's way. Back up to the parking lot where our car is and air conditioned. I'm excited. And all that being said, I want to tell everybody thank you so much for watching this adventure today. It's been a long one. It has been one heck of a shoot today. I've been out since early this morning and it's after lunchtime now. So I've got to see a lot, drove a lot today. Didn't really realize how far these caves were located from Mocksville. But I did it. Once I start something, I'm going to see it through to the end. That's for sure. I've always been that way. But thank you so much for watching. Until next time, I'm the Hitchhiking Yeti, and I will see you on my next adventure. Y'all stay safe. I hope to see you all again soon. Thank you so much. And say so long to Boone Cave Park. Yeah, nature is everywhere. Nothing but trees. Man, that's a wild looking tree there. Look at that thing, how it curves. Heck yeah. This has been a fun day. And now we get to end it by going up those. One step at a time. I might need a Gatorade when this is all said and done. Come on, Yeti, we got this. That's what I would say to myself if I was up there at the top looking back at myself. I was like, come on, man. One foot in front of the other. You got this. You know what I'm talking about when you come to a place like this. And it just keeps on going and going and going. Yeah. My goodness. I'm done.